Good morning. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next 30 minutes. European Council President Antonio Costa commissioned Chief Ursula von der Leyen to arrive in India today to be Republic Day chief guest, boosting India-EU strategic ties. Russia-Ukraine officials meet in Abu Dhabi with US delegation. No peace deal reached. Talks to continue. United States imposes new sanctions on Iran's shadow fleet, increasing pressure over crackdown on protesters. UN Human Rights Council adopts motion for probe. From Greenland to Gaza, geoeconomics dominated World Economic Forum as Davos meet concludes, shaping global trade and political landscape. And Surya Kumar Yadav, Ishan Kishan shine as India beat New Zealand by 7 wickets, take 2-0 series lead. The President of the European Council, Antonio Luis Santos da Costa, and the President of European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, will arrive in India today. The top EU leaders will be visiting India at the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The leaders will be the chief guests at the 77th Republic Day celebrations. During the visit, the leaders will also co-chair the 16th India-EU Summit on January 27th. During the visit, President Costa and President von der Leyen will meet President Draupadi Murmu and hold restricted and delegation-level talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. An India-EU Business Forum is also expected to be organized on the sidelines of the India-EU Summit. India and European Union are strategic partners since 2004. The 15th India-EU Summit was held virtually on 15 July 2020. Bilateral ties have expanded and deepened across a wide range of areas, particularly following the historic visit of EU College of Commissioners to India in February of 2025. Participation of EU leaders as chief guests at the 77th Republic Day and 16th India-EU Summit will further deepen the India-EU strategic partnership and advance collaboration in priority areas of mutual interest. From Greenland to Gaza, geoeconomics dominated the World Economic Forum, which came to an end on Friday. The report has more details that everything transpired at Davos.
Geopolitics took the center stage at this year's World Economic Forum in Davos amid uncertainty over Gaza border peace and tensions related to Greenland. Underlining these differences, World Economic Forum CEO urged for continued dialogue.
Sometimes we really see strong disagreements. That's okay, because the purpose of the week and the forum's work over the year is to create a trusted space for dialogue. Dialogue is a prerequisite for moving the world forward. If you don't even have a dialogue, you will not see any results.
The Greenland issue had reached a breaking point, but US President Donald Trump stepped back from his threat of tariffs on 8 European nations, ruled out using force to take Greenland, which is a semi-autonomous territory of NATO ally Denmark, and suggested a deal was in sight to end the dispute.
People thought I would use force. I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force. All the United States is asking for is a place called Greenland.
Trump also signed the Charter of his Board of Peace, which he has built as a body for resolving global conflicts. He unveiled his new Gaza plan, describing Gaza as great real estate. Trump called for an end to the Ukraine war after a meeting with his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky. Leaders also touched upon crucial trade agreements, with EU chief Ursula von der Leyen saying that India and the bloc were close to conclude a free trade agreement.
We are on the cusp of a historic trade agreement. Indeed, some call it the mother of all deals. one that would create a market of 2 billion people, accounting for almost a quarter of global GDP.
Highlighting India's growth trajectory, Union Minister for Electronics and Information Technology Ashwini Vaishnav said that global confidence in the country's tech industry was evident at Davos.
We will definitely become the third largest economy. What's working very well is the last decade of very transformational change which has happened in our country, and it's a very well thought through, well defined and very focused execution.
Over 65 heads of state and government attended this year's World Economic Forum. Bureau Report, DD India.
Today, 24th January, the world is observing International Education Day. In India, a silent revolution is taking place in tribal regions through Eklavya Model Residential Schools under Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Here's more.
Education in tribal areas has often faced major challenges: distance, lack of infrastructure, and limited access to quality learning. To bridge this gap, the Eklavya Model Residential Schools scheme launched in 2018-19 is creating a strong national network of residential schools in tribal-dominated and remote regions. What makes EMRS truly impactful is the push toward modern learning. Today, 458 EMRS schools are CBSE affiliated, which means nearly 92% of functional schools are aligned with national academic standards. To improve learning outcomes, 290 EMRS schools are already smart classroom enabled, and expansion is underway to strengthen digital learning further. From smart boards to e-learning tools, EMRS is bringing technology into tribal classrooms, making education more interactive, more accessible, and more future-ready. In the academic year 24-25, EMRS students achieved a major milestone with 597 qualifiers in JEE and NEET, a strong sign that tribal students are now competing confidently at the national level.
We are focusing in EMRS is skill-based education, and we have created skill labs so that our students can learn skills which will make them get profession which they want. Moreover, we work on innovations also. We have Atal Tinkering Labs. We are focusing on digital education. We are providing digital infrastructure, which includes smart classes, good speed internet connectivity, as well as computer labs.
Not just academics, EMRS is also building champions in sports and leadership. Over 5,500 students participated in National EMRS Sports Meet, showcasing excellence in athletics, archery, football, and even mountaineering. Students' well-being remains a key focus area in EMRS schools. To strengthen teaching quality and ensure uniform learning standards, EMRS also conducts an annual principal conclave. The conclave brings together school leaders from across regions to review classroom challenges, share best practices, and upgrade academic planning. On this International Education Day, the story of EMRS is a reminder that when education reaches the last village, the nation rises higher, from access to excellence, from welfare to leadership. EMRS is not just transforming tribal education, well, it is strengthening India's future human capital. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
In other news, Prime Minister Narendra Modi met priests from Swaminarayan Perumal Temple on Friday. Sharing on X, Prime Minister Modi expressed his gratitude for their blessings. Swaminarayan Perumal Temple is an ancient temple located in Thirukostiyur, a village in South Indian state of Tamil Nadu, dedicated to the Hindu god Vishnu, constructed in the Dravidian style of architecture. In a significant step towards improving passenger safety, security and service delivery, Indian Railways has introduced a humanoid robot named ASC Arjun at Visakhapatnam railway station. The deployment marks first of its kind initiative on the Indian Railways network. It reflects the organization's commitment to adopting new and emerging technologies for public convenience and safety. The humanoid robot will work alongside RPF personnel to support station operations, particularly during peak passenger movement. ASC Arjun has been fully designed and developed in Visakhapatnam using homegrown technology. A dedicated team worked continuously for more than a year to bring this project to fruition, demonstrating Indian Railways' growing capabilities in integrating advanced systems into day-to-day operations. On to some global weather updates. First from India, fresh western disturbances brought snowfall to the hills and rains to the plains, ending a prolonged dry spell across North India. Heavy snowfall covered parts of Kashmir Valley, including Kulgam, Srinagar and Anantnag, while Shimla and Manali received season's first snow. Meanwhile, in the plains, Delhi, Haryana, Rajasthan and parts of Punjab saw light to moderate rains, lowering temperatures and easing pollution levels. Jammu and Kashmir authorities have issued high danger avalanche warning for 6 districts following fresh snowfall in the region. Avalanches are likely above 2,300 meters in Gandarbal district of central Kashmir. A higher danger avalanche alert has also been issued for areas above 2,500 meters in Doda, Kishtwar, Poonch and Ramban in Jammu region and Kupwara in North Kashmir. Residents have been advised to remain cautious and avoid avalanche-prone zones. Shimla turned into a winter wonderland on Friday as the hill town received the season's first snow, disrupting normal life. A thick blanket of snow covered the mountains and vehicles across Shimla, transforming the capital of Himachal Pradesh into a picturesque white landscape. While residents and tourists welcomed the snowfall after nearly 3 months of dry weather, daily activities were affected due to snow accumulation. Locals said first snowfall is a positive boost for tourism. The Met Department has forecast continued snow in the higher reaches of the state till January 24th. A major winter storm is moving east across the United States, triggering emergency alerts and preparations from Atlanta to Washington, D.C. Heavy snow began falling in parts of Texas and Oklahoma as a powerful Arctic storm spread across the country. The U.S. National Weather Service said over 150 million Americans are under weather emergency alerts. At least 14 U.S. states and Washington, D.C. have declared a state of emergency, with authorities preparing for icy roads, power outages and extreme cold. Forecasters warn that storm could bring up to 36 centimeters of snow in parts of Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, while Washington, D.C., New York, Boston may receive about 4 to 8 inches of snow by Sunday. Argentines in Buenos Aires are facing scorching temperatures as heat wave continues, with extreme heat expected to persist through the weekend and into Monday. Residents and tourists in Buenos Aires city and province endured intense heat on Friday as temperatures rose sharply by early afternoon. According to Argentina's National Met Service, SMN, temperatures are expected to remain above normal for this time of the year, with the heat wave continuing through the weekend and at least until Monday, January 26th. The SMN forecasts that temperatures in Buenos Aires could peak on Monday with a maximum of 36 degrees Celsius and minimum of 26. It advised people to stay hydrated, avoid direct sun exposure between 10 a.m. and 4 in the afternoon. Still to come on this edition of TT India Live. Venezuela's interim president Delcy Rodriguez says over 600 inmates have been released, far more than estimated by rights groups. Bangladesh's former leader Sheikh Hasina alleges that elections next month would not be free or fair. India face off against New Zealand in their final group stage encounter of the ICC Men's Under-19 World Cup. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. In an effort to break the impasse, Russian, Ukraine and US negotiators have held talks in the United Arab Emirates, the first meeting attended by all three countries in 4 years. Officials met in Abu Dhabi to tackle the vital issue of territory with no sign of a compromise as Russian airstrikes plunged Ukraine into its worst energy crisis of nearly 4-year conflict. The tripartite talks brokered by the US are unfolding against a backdrop of intensified Russian strikes on Ukraine's energy system that have cut power and heating to major cities such as Kiev as temperatures dip well below freezing. The head of Ukraine's top private power producer on Friday said the situation was nearing a humanitarian catastrophe and that Ukraine needs a ceasefire that halts attacks on energy infrastructure. However, the key sticking point in the trilateral meeting remains territorial issues, including Russia's demand that Ukraine gives up 20% of the Donetsk region, which Kiev still controls. While President Zelensky refused to give up land that Russia has not been able to capture in 4 years of grinding attritional warfare, polls show little appetite among Ukraine for territorial concessions. Donetsk is one of the 4 Ukrainian regions Moscow said in 2022 it was annexing after a referendum rejected by Kiev and Western nations as bogus. Most countries recognize Donetsk as part of Ukraine. The United States on Friday imposed a new series of sanctions targeting Iran's shadow fleet, said to be supporting the country's oil exports, as Washington steps up pressure over the government's crackdown on protesters. In statements, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the officials directly tied the sanctions on the 9 vessels and their respective owners or management firms. The department said the fleet collectively transported hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Iranian oil and petroleum products to foreign markets. The Treasury said the revenue belongs to Iranian people but is instead diverted to fund Iran's regional terrorist proxies, weapons programs and security services, instead of the basic economic services the Iranian people have bravely demanded. Meanwhile, senior Iranian officials on Friday said Iran will treat any attack as an all-out war against us ahead of the arrival of US military aircraft carrier, strike group and other assets in the Middle East in the coming days. Speaking on condition of anonymity, officials say that military build-up, they hope it is not intended for real confrontation as their military is ready for the worst-case scenario. Earlier, US President Trump said that United States has an armada heading towards Iran, but hoped he would not have to use it as he renewed warnings to Tehran against killing protesters or restarting its nuclear program. The United Nations Human Rights Council on Friday passed a motion extending an independent probe into human rights abuses in Iran and called for an urgent inquiry into the violent crackdown by authorities on protesters. The 47-member body voiced alarm about the unprecedented scale of violent crackdown on peaceful protests by security forces in Iran. With 25 votes in favor, 7 opposed and rest abstaining, it decided to extend and broaden the mandate of independent investigators gathering evidence towards ensuring accountability for rights violations in the country. During an emergency session of the Human Rights Council, the UN Rights Chief urged Iran on Friday to end its brutal repression of protests.
I call on the Iranian authorities to reconsider, to pull back and to end their brutal repression, including summary trials and disproportionate sentences. I call for the immediate release of all those arbitrarily detained by the Iranian authorities. And I call for a complete moratorium on the death penalty. I urge the government to end the internet and communications shutdown and to stop using this as a systematic practice.
In other news, Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, said that over 600 inmates have been released, far more than estimated by rights groups, who are demanding the liberation of all political prisoners. Days after the U.S. ouster of socialist leader Nicolas Maduro on January 3rd bombing raid on Caracas, the government undertook to release a large number of hundreds of Maduro opponents languishing in prison. The announcement, which was hailed by Washington, created expectations of large groups of prisoners walking free. The U.S. military killed 2 alleged drug traffickers in a strike on a boat in the Eastern Pacific on Friday. While the Coast Guard was searching for a third person who survived, President Trump's administration began targeting alleged smuggling boats in early September, insisting it is effectively at war with the alleged narco-terrorist operating out of Venezuela. But it has not provided any definitive evidence that the vessels are involved in drug trafficking, prompting heated debate about the legality of the operations. Top defense officials from 34 countries will meet in February to discuss common security priorities in the Western Hemisphere. Just weeks after it deposed Venezuela's leader, the inaugural Western Hemisphere Chiefs of Defense Conference on February 11th will be hosted by U.S. Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff Dan Kane. Top military leaders from Denmark, Britain and France that have territories in the area are among those who have been invited. Thousands gathered in Washington on Friday to participate in the 53rd Annual March for Life Against Abortion, vowing to keep up the pressure despite the Supreme Court's 2022 decision to overturn the federal guarantee of the right to terminate a pregnancy. During the event, Vice President J.D. Vance addressed the March for Life gathering on the National Mall, declaring that, and I quote, "You have an ally in the White House," unquote. The rally is held annually in the U.S. Capitol to mark anniversary of the court's original 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling, which legalized abortion in all 50 states. Vice President also said Washington would no longer provide foreign aid to programs promoting diversity and gender equality, in addition to those related to abortion. In the U.S., about 20 of the 50 states have banned or severely restricted access to abortion, since it is no longer a guaranteed right at the federal level. Bangladesh's former leader Sheikh Hasina alleged on Friday that elections next month would not be free or fair. Sheikh Hasina, during an audio message broadcast, said Bangladesh stands today at the edge of an abyss, a nation battered and bleeding. Hitting out at Yunus government, she said that Bangladesh will never experience free and fair elections until the shadow that Yunus cast is lifted from the people of Bangladesh. The South Asian nation of 170 million people votes on February 12th to choose new leadership after prolonged political turmoil following the overthrow of Sheikh Hasina's autocratic government. Sensational knocks by skipper Surya Kumar Yadav and Ishan Kishan powered India to a dominating 7-wicket win over New Zealand in the second T20 in Raipur on Friday. Ahead of the all-important T20 World Cup, Surya Kumar surged back to form with a fiery 82, while Kishan justified his national recall with a sensational 32 ball 76. India gunned down the 209-run target with ease, even after losing openers Abhishek Sharma and Sanju Samson by the second over of the chase. Surya Kumar remained unbeaten, along with Shivam Dube, whose 36-run cameo helped India cross the finish line in just 15.2 overs. India became the first full-member team in the world to chase down a 200-plus target in T20 with more than 25 balls to spare. India doubled their lead to 2-0 in the 5-match series. The third T20 takes place on Sunday in Guwahati. In the Under-19 Cricket World Cup, India will square off against New Zealand on the final day of the group stage at the Queen's Sports Club in Bulawayo today. The Ayush Matre-led team had a good start to their campaign as they registered a 6-wicket win in their season opener against US Under-19. The team took the same momentum against Bangladesh, beating them by 18 runs via DLS method. The team has already qualified for the next round, will be looking to extend their winning streak. Meanwhile, New Zealand have had both their games against the US and Bangladesh end in no result, currently occupying the third spot in Group B. The Black Caps will be hoping to end the group stage on a high. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan this QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.